Hi, I'm Eshkalar, the world's greatest Canadian wizard, and this is an ongoing series called Your Fighting Arts Are Wrong. Because they are. And it's not my fault. Please don't blame me. And if you feel like you should have vengeance on old Eshkalar for disagreeing with you, then you're one of the people that needs to learn these things. Because if there's one thing that the fighting arts is not about, it's not about revenge. Ask any sensei with any kind of accreditation. He will say, this is for the improvement of your mind and soul. Anyway. Then there are fighting arts coaches that teach people for cage combat and mat combat. Cool. That's structured. There are rules. So these are important things to understand when talking about fighting arts trainers, because they are training you to hurt people. But they're training you to hurt people in a very, very, very large realm where there are strict rules and controls, and they minimize deaths and critical injuries and life-threatening situations. And they skirt the edge of it in an urge to make a lot of money. Oh yeah, by entertaining people. Man, the killer ape. That's sad. But at any rate, wait, I like it too. I talked about it in my Your Gracie is Wrong video. I watch cage fighting, you bet. It doesn't make me believe in Joe Rogan. He's a complete idiot. He knows it. If you catch him, he'll say, oh, I'm a complete idiot. But then he'll go on with the most horrible things to be telling young people that don't know the difference. The same with Alex Jones. They are the same. Joe Rogan is much more interesting and engaging, but he's just as dangerous to young people who don't have the ability to do critical thinking yet. So, Joe has decided to waste his talent and his ability by being a foil for reason. You know I'm saying it, Joe. You know I'm right. You could have done better, but you didn't. So you're not a fighting artist, and you're not a martial arts philosopher, and by inference, you are not any kind of philosopher. Anyone that believes in your picture of the world is doomed. Okay, but if you listen to Ramsey Dewey, who is a competent trainer of combat artists and fighting artists, you might learn a little something. You too, Joe. You might learn how to address the microphone at least, because man, is he better at it than you are. You're a chump. The fact that you are loved by people that don't know better is... All rapists are loved by people that don't know better. You're raping the brains of people that give you their credulity and trust. You're a piece of junk. You know that. You know, you've said it yourself. But people don't hear you because they're fanboys. And fanboys aren't capable of critical thinking, of questioning their motives or yours. But Ramsey Dewey's going to question them for you. He's going to say something that you never learned. Or if you did, you don't teach it. Which makes you a McDojo, philosophically speaking. And here's what Ramsey had to say that's very important, Joe, that you should learn. You need a comprehensive life strategy as a fighting artist. That's right. You're not just training to get in the ring and beat the crap out of some guy who desperately deserves it. You're not doing that. You're living a life that is designed to create a survival niche for you that does not interact unwholesomely with those around you. That's what a fighting artist does. That's what a fighting arts trainer does. That's what any good trainer or sensei should try to inculcate in his or her students, is this respect for civilization. And the first step in civilization is being civil. And one way you're civil is to don't get involved in street brawls. That's right. Don't be the kind of person that gets involved in situations that guys like Joe Rogan get to make fun of you afterwards. This is important. There are plenty of orangutans out there. Let Joe hang with his brothers. Don't be part of it. Don't let a guy that catches children who don't have critical thinking skills catch you, too. You should know better. As a fighting artist, you are a role model for your community. Look, it's okay to be this. It's okay for me to be a boxer. Boxing can lift me out of the slums and can teach other kids a route out of the slums. And it's funny when you hear people say like, oh, video games don't affect the minds of the youth. Positive and negative role modeling are real things. And you've listened to game designers who have a stake in it. They have a horse in that race. Tell you a lie. Yes, negative role modeling is a big deal. And if you get it too young, you don't know the differences, so you don't realize what you're seeing is negative role modeling. And all you have to do is turn your face away from your Xbox and ask a psychiatrist, hey, are there things called role models? Is Eshkalar making sense here? Or all these people tell me, no, it's okay. GTA doesn't give anybody bad thoughts. Is it possible that there are people that GTA would give bad thoughts and that they wouldn't have been reached if GTA hadn't been mass produced? Probably. So I think you guys ought to think about this situational awareness thing I've been talking about. I go on about it a lot. That's why I don't watch Joe Rogan. It's situational awareness. I don't get myself into trouble by going to places where assholes hang out getting into fights. And that's what Ramsey Dewey's trying to teach people. He's a good guy. Joe Rogan's a bad guy. Ramsey's a good influence. Joe Rogan's a bad influence. Ramsey's a positive role model. Joe Rogan, he's not. Now, this is all true. I'm not making this up. I'm not slandering anybody. I'm not saying anything that the men have not said themselves in a different fashion. But I am making some truth here. And one of the truths that you need is you need a life strategy, especially if you're a fighting artist in training to fight. Because most of your life is spent not fighting. And a good deal of it is spent trying to understand people so that you don't get involved in fights unless there's a specific reason inside your art form. And that's what Ramsey Dewey teaches. So I recommend to you guys, the guys that think I'm making sense and the guys that don't think I'm making sense. The guys that think, hey, old man's got chops, and the guys that think, old fart's an idiot, should both go and listen to a Ramsey Dewey video or two. Dewey, D-E-W-E-Y, Ramsey Dewey. Think you'll enjoy it. And you may learn a little something. I'm hoping you learn a little something from me. What I'm trying to tell you is develop a life strategy that says things like, during the course of my day, I don't want to hang in places where trouble's likely to happen. I don't want to engage people who are troublesome people. I'm not going to stop them from being who they are, except by positive role modeling. You do that out in the world, in your everyday, in how you talk to people, in how you respect your elders or the youthful, how you respect your peers, how you show that what you do is based on art, even if you're taking innate aggression and anger and all these things that you don't like, and you're forcing them into energy for this thing is called transference. There's another word for it. I can't think of it offhand. Sublimation. Thank you. When you sublimate all that anger and that energy and that angst and that desire to act, in spite of the fact that haste makes waste, you subsume that into your art and craft. That's why I could draw or write music, and why you could become a better fighting artist. And you don't do it by letting yourself get baited out by assholes, shock jocks, guys that like to get into fights, guys that like to egg on other people till they get into fights. You don't want people like that in your life. You can walk away from them. It's legal to walk away from them. They have no hold on you. Even if they go like, yeah, buck, 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 buck. What is that? That's children making noises. What's that, Hawaiian noises? I don't think so. Hawaiians weren't children. So, except for the children. There's a conundrum there. At any rate, so that was my point for today. Have a strategy of life. Hey, I'm learning to fight during times of peace. I am preparing for war, or this is my way of sublimating my male aggression and sexual energy without causing trouble to people. And do it by saying, and so I'm going to avoid places that trigger me. I'm going to avoid people that seek to get others into trouble. I'm going to avoid bad company. Now, There's a guy that like sought out bad company. His name was Jesus. If you're Jesus, you're one of two things. You're either Mexican, just kidding, or you're deluded. Now, I could be wrong. You could be Jesus. But if you're Jesus, you'd be doing good by hanging on bad places. And I don't see that happening. I just see people egging each other on to idiocy. So I don't see Jesus. Oh, I forgot. I did see Jesus in a bar one time. Let me tell you a story. I was working at a place that never existed. Of course, it was in a fantasy world. It was, what was it called? HJ's Hotel. And I was bartending there one day, and I think Brownie didn't come in that day because he had gotten topped off somewhere else. And Clem was upstairs, and Pat O'Shea hadn't moved in yet. But what I remember is, I think it was Clem came downstairs. So Clem was at the end of the bar. We almost never saw him there, Clem Stanislaus. Almost never saw him down there. But he was down at one end of the bar. And Pat O'Shea wasn't there, remember that, because it was a very quiet day. Nobody's caused trouble. And doggone it, guy comes in from the side door, turns into, looks, because the back door's closed. He can't get into the pool room. So he looks this way, and he comes over, sits at the bar. He's dressed in a white samite robe. It's kind of like coarse silk, I mean, yeah. And he's got sandals. He's got long, kinky black hair and dark skin. Very Semitic, I'd say. Not being disrespectful, mind you. Just trying to call a genetic resonance out of my memory. And he says, hi. I says, hey, well, welcome to HJ's. And, this fantasy bar in a fantasy world. And he said, what kind of beer you got? So I went through the list. He says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take a short bud, because we had bud on tap. So I pulled a short bud and passed it down the bar to him, and he had it. He drank. While he's drinking, Clem was like shifting in his seat because he had that hip problem. And this guy like looks at him for a minute, and I'm like, uh-oh, now what? And the guy gets up. I'm like, oh, don't mess with Clem. He's one of the good ones. And he walks over to Clem. He says, you seem to be struggling, my brother. He puts his hand on his shoulder. And Clem goes, what the? My hip. It stopped hurting. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So now, finally, Brownie comes in. He's shit-faced. Like I say, he found another place to top off. Which means he was going to order a glass of water from me and then shit himself because he had done that before. No offense. It's a fantasy world. The writer makes up the stories. It wasn't me. Some other guy. But anyway, so he comes in, he goes, water. And I'm taking my time with it, right? And Brownie's like waving. He's going, bo, 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 bo. And he's like favoring the one leg, Brownie. And here this guy comes away from Clem, walks over, and says, my friend, you seem to be struggling. And Brownie, instantly sober. He's like, what? What? I'd never seen him sober. I never heard him talk, except to say, give me another one. Give me a shot and a beer. I knew that, but now he's like coherent. He's like, my leg. I have been boozed out of my mind for 40 years because my leg is so messed up. I can't stand it. And it's gone. The pain is gone. So he started stretching his leg a little bit. And he's like, I can't believe this. This is wonderful. And he forgets where he is, and he just turns around, walks back out the door, happy as a clam. So there's Clem going, hell, man, I'm okay. Brownie just, got his leg fixed. Now the guy comes over to me. And he goes, my son. And I says, please don't touch me. I'm on 100% disability. So that's been Eshkalar for today. And I learned something that day. I learned you need a comprehensive life strategy. And if you don't know why that's funny, you've never been on welfare.